To create the slider for the lid, first thing I'm going to do is go to my top plane and start a sketch. Now you're going to have to adjust some of these measurements to fit the groove that you created, as well as the diameter of your own lid. So I'm going to start by making a center rectangle with the center at the origin. Now, my groove was 3/4 of an inch wide, so I'm going to set my width at 0.73 instead of 0.75, leaving 1/100th on each side for tolerance. I measured the straight side of my opening as 2.06 inches. I'm going to set this one at 1.5, meaning that overall this should be about a 1/2 inch shorter than the groove itself, meaning it should be able to slide from one side to the other, covering up all but about a 1/2 inch. Once I've done that, I'm going to put the curves at both ends. To do this, I'm going to use a 3-point arc. On each end, I'm going to zoom in, go to the start and the finish, and then I'm going to place the arc so that it bows out, but not such that it attaches the center point of the arc to the origin or anywhere else. I'm just going to have it set right about there. The only dimension I need to do is the radius of this. Now the radius on mine, since the whole round portion of the cup here is a diameter of 2 1/4, this for me would be 1 1/8, or 1.125. That is my radius there. I'm going to do the same on the other end. 3-point arc, start, end, somewhere in here so it doesn't attach itself. Smart dimension, this as 1.125. That is done. I'm then going to use trim entities, trim to closest, to get rid of the 2 end lines. Now, in order to get this to fully define, it seems to work best if I go ahead and dimension the length of this line and the distance between these two as well. That usually takes me to fully defined. Once I've done this, I can exit the sketch. I'm going to extrude this up 0.125, 1/8 of an inch to match the depth of the groove I cut. Again, you may adjust that measurement for your own design. I'm now going to go to the top, start a sketch on the top, go normal to it, use this again, my center rectangle, to create this piece here. I'm going to make it 1/4 of an inch thick. You can make yours as thick as you'd like. That's fully defined. I'm going to go ahead and extrude this up 3/8 of an inch, or 0.375. This gives me my push tab. This doesn't look very useful. It's squared corners. It's not really the way it would probably look. I'm going to use my fillet tool, first using the full round fillet to fillet the top so that I round it off. I'm then going to do an additional fillet, a face fillet of 1/4 inch between this and this. Sorry, I did not pick them individually, which I should have done. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, leaving that, pick here to there. And you can mess with size and shape to make this look however it is you need it to. I'm also going to go ahead and do a fillet, an edge fillet of 1/8 of an inch with my propagation turned on. And I'm going to pick this one as well as this edge this edge, and this edge to slope everything in. Now, if you have this sliding back and forth, this right now should cover everything. You may need it to slide up, and when the drinking hole is exposed in this area, for example, you may want this to line up with some sort of vent hole. If that's what you wanted to do, I can start my sketch there. I would look at this, use a center line to come off the origin some distance, or even better, I'm going to come off of the midpoint, not wanting to give me the midpoint of the arc there. Give me the midpoint of this one though. Okay, little side tip. If you get ahead of yourself like I did and filleted too much, I'm going to back this up to there. The reason I backed it up to there is now when I plot the location of this hole, I can get the midpoint that I wanted. The reason I'm getting the midpoint right there is if I look at my lid, I probably cut the vent hole knowing its distance from the very end of that cut down to wherever I drilled the hole, and I can just match it here. That's the way I would suggest doing it. So now I can dimension this. If it was 1/4 of an inch down, this is the perfect location. I can put it as 0.25. If I made a really small hole, which I would have done, I can actually make this a little larger, so just in case it doesn't fit perfectly, it allows for that. Now I'm going to go ahead and exit this sketch and extrude cut it through all to create my vent hole. I can now go down and add my fillet back in. So that's just a little side note. So now this piece would be ready to go on. The vent hole should line up when I slide it into the open position. However, when I slide it into the closed position, it will hopefully close. You may need to mess with these measurements as they are approximate and would work in my mug, but may or may not work in yours.